Hello everyone. Today in this video we are going to discuss function as well as the types of function as well as we are going to discuss some examples of functions. So function is a block of reusable code that performs a specific action. So now, first of all, now let's discuss the definition of function in a Python. So students, function is a block of reusable codes that performs a specific action. Now let's discuss about the syntax of function. So first of all, whenever we have to declare the function, there are two types of function: user defined function as well as built-in functions. So built-in functions are those functions which are already specified by the Python programming language, like print we are using, input function we are using for finding maximum, minimum. All these are the functions. So these functions are already provided by the Python, but there might be some function which are supposed to be created by the users to make the programming more convenient to use. So in such cases, we are going to use this def keyword, def, which we are going to use for defining a function from the user's end. So def, here it will come the function name, and here we are going to pass the parameters. So inside the bracket, parameters will come, or in some cases it's not mandatory to use the parameters. Then here we are going to write the body of function, which means whatever the condition which you want to give, whatever the code of the block of reusable code. As we have discussed that the function is a block of reusable code. So function basically, like in our Python programming, we are going to write a code of thousands of lines, but in those thousands of line, like there are few 5 to 6 lines of code which we have to repeat it again and again we are going to use. So to save the time and to make the program more convenient, or to shorten the length of the program also, we used to declare the function, so that we do not need to write all those instructions or all those lines again and again in the program. We will just simply call the function and our work will be sorted. So here we are going to mention the condition or whatever you want to perform inside the function, and after that you can use the return value. As well as we are going to discuss that there are some functions in which there is no need to use the return value also. Return value which basically returns the value to the function. So I hope the definition of function is clear as well as the syntax of the function is clear. So now let's start running our first code in the function. I want to declare a function. So we can declare the function by using the def. So I want to declare the function using greet, and inside the greet, whenever I will call it, it should always print hello students. how are you? So this is the function which I want to declare. So now let's run this. So now this function has been declared. So whenever I'm going to call this function, like greet, so whenever I will call this function, hello students, how are you? There is no need to write these lines of code again and again. So this function which is created by me, which is created by user, so that is a user defined function. The function which we are using here, that is print, this print hello everyone. This is a built-in function. This is a built-in function, and this is user defined function. I hope the difference is clear to all of you. So basically in function we are going to discuss these two types of functions only. One which is provided by the Python library, which is provided by the Python programming language. Those are known as built-in functions, like for calculating the sum, finding the minimum, and user defined function which we can create manually according to our use. So built-in function, as well as, let's discuss, let me write here some built-in function. Built-in function, for example, this print, as well as sum, as well as maximum for finding the maximum value, minimum value, whenever we need to check the data type of any particular data item. So these are the built-in functions which is provided by the Python. No need to declare it by our side. If you want me to discuss some built-in functions also, so we can discuss here. Like for built-in function, let's take the variable bf, then in list. Now let's see 10, 20, 30 and 40. Now let's check print maximum of bf, or we can check by using the maximum value bf dot max. One second. Yes, and in the same way we can find the minimum also from bf, as well as you can check the sum also, as well as we can check the particular data type also of bf. So as you can see, maximum is 40, minimum is 10, and the sum is 100, and the type of this variable is list. So these are the examples of built-in functions. Now we are going to discuss the example of user-defined function. Examples of built-in function. So now we are going to discuss the examples of user define functions. So now let's create the let's define the function by using the add here, and inside the add let's there's such no need to pass the parameter for once, so the arguments. Now let's declare the variable that is a is 5, b is also 5, then print a plus b. Now let's run this. So now this function is declared. So whenever I will call this add here and when I will run this, it will show me an addition. Whenever in this program, like earlier we have created the greet function, so now let's call it again. So the output will be hello students, how are you? So this is the main advantage of using the function in a Python, so that it will make the long programming, long coding very convenient to the user, or so that they don't have to write the same specific block again and again. So those blocks of code which are going to be which we are going to reuse in the same program, so we can recall it by the function only. So this is the main advantage of using the function. So now we are going to discuss the 4 types of user defined function. So students, now let's discuss the very first type for one. Now let me write in the text. Type 1. Type 1 is when no argument as well as no return value. So basically 4 case we are going to discuss in user defined function when there will be no argument and no return value. Cool. So now let's discuss the example of no argument, no return value, which means there will be no argument and there will be no return value. Argument, which means the value which we are going to pass inside these parentheses, those are known as argument, and return value, which we have already discussed here, that the value which will be returned to the function. So this return value. So we are going to discuss about the use of return values as well as the argument in upcoming types. So in this one, now let's declare one function like greet. We can take the example of the same for greet. So we were giving the print here. So now let's declare the another one with the greeting name. So greeting, welcome everyone. And now I will call the function. So whenever I will call the function greeting, when I will run, so the output will be welcome everyone. So in this one, there is no argument which I have used. There is no return value. So this is a type 1 of user defined function, that this is how we can create the user defined function. Now students, in the type 2, in type 2 we are going to discuss argument but no return value. Now we are going to use the argument. Type 2 arguments but no return value. So now let's discuss the example of this. Like let's define the function. greet, then name. Let's use the function, change the function with hello, then print hello and name. So we have defined the function. So now how you are going to call it? Hello, and inside this hello you are going to write the name, that is like Python sing. I forgot to use the inverted commas here. So now as you can see, hello Python sing. So this hello will be added. So in this one I use the arguments but no return value I have used. In the previous one there was no argument inside the parenthesis, no particular message was given inside the function, no particular parameters we can say, or there is no return value. And in this one arguments we have used but no return value. Now we are going to discuss, that is type 3, which is no argument but return value. No argument but return value. So in this one we are not going to pass any argument but we are going to use the return value. So let's define the function first. Define. Now let's define the function with get number. No argument we are going to pass here. Then return 100. Now let's declare one variable here, that num is equal to get number and then print returned value, and then we are going to use here, that is num variable. So as you can see that the return value is 100 here, which means the value which we are going to mention after the return, it will give that value back to the function which we have created. So in this one we are not passing any argument here inside the parenthesis, but we are using this return 100. So we have declared this variable here, that is get number. So whenever we are going to run this function, so it will be returned the value as this num. So as you can see, returned value, that is 100. Now let's call this function again, that get number. So when you will run, it will show us the 100. Just to write this, we have used this extra statement, that is print, and we have used the num. Otherwise, whenever you are going to need the function, there is no need to write such. You will just directly type the function name and then parenthesis and you can call it. If there is any argument which you have passed, then you have to pass the argument inside the function. Otherwise, no need to pass the argument. So argument, which means like here we have passed the argument while defining, that is name. So we have to write the name inside the parenthesis, then only it will be able to call it. So I guess type 3 of the function is also clear, in which we are taking no argument but we are using the return value. So now we are going to discuss, that is a fourth type. In this type we are going to discuss with return value as well as the argument. Type 4, argument and return value. So now let's declare the function, that is addition. Inside the bracket we are going to pass the value a comma b, and then Now let's return that A plus B. So now pass the value here, that addition 5 comma 10. So as you can see 15 is here. So this time we are using the arguments also, as well as we are using the return also. So the value, which means it will be returned to the function, which means whenever we are going to pass the argument like 5, 10, then the value will be returned to the function now, which means the value will be given as a output, because we are not using here as a print function. So the working is done by the return, that after doing the addition it will return the value. So as you can see, after doing the addition we are having the value 15. So we have discussed all four types. The very first one, no argument, no return value. Then argument, no return value. Then we have discussed the no argument but return value, and now we have discussed argument and a return value. So these are the four ways by which a user can define the user defined function. So now we are going to discuss the types of argument. Till now we have discussed the types of user defined function. Now we are going to discuss types of argument. So there are two types of argument, that is positional and keyword. Further there are two more types, that is a variable argument types and keyword variable argument types. So types of argument. Let's discuss the first one, that is positional argument. Second one which we are having, that is keyword argument. Let's discuss the others also. So one more, that is default argument, and the fourth one, which is important one, which we have discussed, that is the variable length argument, which we usually denote by asterisk arg. And fifth one is keyword variable argument. We are going to denote with double asterisk. So these are the types of arguments. So we are going to discuss every type of argument one by one. So first let's discuss the positional argument. Positional argument. So in the positional argument, let's declare the function, that is def demo or we can use like def info. Position, we have to specify the position like name, as you can see here, age, then print name is, and then write here name, then again we will call print and write age is, then write here age, and now just run this. So we have defined this function info. Like whenever you are going to call this info, and just give your name Python inside the inverted commas. Don't forget to give inside the inverted commas if you are using this string, then 20. So the output will be name is Python and age is 20. So here we are using the positional argument, which means we have to specify the position. Like if we are not going to specify it, let me show you again. If I will call this again info and I will change their position. So this is the basic difference. So it will not detect, it will give us the output in this way. Name is 20 and age is Python. Because we have specified the position here, that first the name will be entered, then age. So but when we have pass the name and age as an argument, then it was showing correct. But when we change the sequence, then now the sequence is also changed here also. So now it is incorrect that the name is 20 and age is Python. So the fixing the position that can be done by the positional arguments. So this was the very first type. Now we are going to discuss the second type, that is a keyword argument. So in the keyword argument, what we can do, we can use in this way. Second is keyword argument. So now let's define that def info (22), then age, sorry, name Python, age 20. Now let's run this. One second. So as you can see, name is Python and age is 20, because now we have specified it. Now let's try to change the sequence this time. Info age is 20, comma, name is Python. Now we have changed the sequence. So even if we will change the sequence in the keyword argument, because here we are specifying it, that name is Python, age is 20, and here age is 20, name is Python. Even though if we are going to change the sequence, then also it will show the correct output. So this is the difference between the keyword argument, and this is the difference between the, we can say, keyword between keyword and positional argument. Because in the positional argument we are calling just by the arguments only, but here we are specifying the arguments with their variable name. So these are known as keyword arguments. So now let's discuss the example of third type, that is default argument. Let's declare the function that def greet in greet, like name, let's use the name Python, declare the function, then print hello, and then use the name here. So now whenever I'm going to call this greet, now let's try to call it without passing any argument here. So it will show us that hello Python, because we have written the Python here, and hello, this one will print as it is, and name which we have already declared as a Python. So but let's check for this also, the like if we are going to pass any name here like Mohan, so it will print hello Mohan also. So this is the by default argument, that the sequence doesn't matter here. Like we have declared the variable inside the, this is the variable and this is the value we have declared inside the function as a argument here. Then this hello will print as it is, and this name, this variable, whatever we are going to write here, it will print here. So whenever you are going to specify it, so it will print hello Mohan. If you are not going to specify, so whatever you have written here, it will print as it is. So this is by default arguments. Now the main part that which arrives, this is program, sorry, fourth one, that is variable arguments. These type of arguments we are using when we do not know when we do not know how many arguments we are going to pass. Like here we are passing one argument, like we have defined the function, but we do not know that how many times we are going to define, we are going to use this argument. So when the arguments are variable in length, so that time we are going to use variable length argument, and same for the keyword length argument. We will we will discuss both of them in same common example. Let's consider def. Def is the keyword which is used to define the function. Then demo we are using to, we are choose the name to define a function here. Then this is args and quarks, which means argument with variable length and keyword argument with the variable length. We are going to use 2 times this asterisk. Now print asterisk args, args, then again print quarks. Now let's run this. As we have declared the function, we have defined the function. Now let's call this function demo 1, 2, 3, name Ravi, as well as class 20. Demo 1, 2, 3, then name, Python, then age 20. Now let's run this. So this is the arguments like 1, 2, 3, and this is the keyword arguments, that name, Python, and age 20. So the difference between variable length argument and keyword length argument, that it returns in tuple and it returns the value in form of dictionary. As you can see here, we have used this args. This is the keyword which we are going to use for the variable length argument, and this is the keyword which we are going to use for the keyword length argument, keyword variable length argument. So as you can see here, this is the keyword which we are going to use, that the single time asterisk args, which is we are going to use for variable length argument. Double time asterisk we are going to use, then kwargs, which is we are going to use for keyword variable length argument. The difference between them, which we have already discussed in the keyword, the example of the keyword, that we are going to pass with the name, with the specific argument, like in the positional we are using the arguments just to pass the value only, but here we are using the proper variable, proper defining. So in the same way, in the keyword variable length argument also, we are going to define it properly, like name, Python, and age. But 1, 2, 3, which is not required to pass the specifically in the variable length argument. So now as you can see, the variable length argument, the value is contained in tuple, and the in the keyword variable length argument, the value is stored in a dictionary. So these are the types of arguments which we have discussed. Positional, keyword. In position there is no need to specify it properly, but if the sequence, if we are going to change the sequence, so there will be a there will be an ambiguity in the output, which means there will be an confusion in the output. Like we have declared Python and 20, so the name is Python and age is 20, but this time when we change the position, so this is also changed, that the name is 20 and age is Python. In the same way, for overcoming such type of limitation, we are going to use the keyword argument, that we are going to specify it properly, that name Python, age 20. If we are going to change the position also, then also it doesn't matter, it will give the correct result. Default argument we have discussed. Variable length and keyword variable length arguments, when we do not know how many times the argument is going to pass, so in such cases we are going to use the this args and quarks. Quarks, we are going to specify the with variable properly, and in args we are going to just pass the values only. So these values in the variable length arguments will be stored in tuple, and this keyword variable length arguments will be stored in a dictionary. So now we are going to discuss the another important topic, that is variables. So we are going to discuss the types of variable today. Types of variables. The very first one, that is local variable. Second, that is global variable. So first we are going to discuss about the local variable. Local variable are those variable which we are going to define inside the function, and global variable are those variable which we are not going to define inside the function, and global variable are those type of variable which we can use inside the function also and outside the function, but local variable cannot be used outside the function. So first we are going to discuss the example of the local variable. For like, let's declare the function that is show, and now I want to use I want to declare a variable that is x10. Then I will print this is inside the function, this is inside the function. What is inside the function? This x. So now let's try to print this x once. So now x is not defined, but we have defined here. So whenever we are going to call outside the function, so it will not, it will show us an error. So this is the limitation of local variable. Now let's call by using the show. So the output will be, this is inside the function, and this 10 is the variable which is a local variable. I hope this is clear to all of you, that how we can declare the variable inside the function, because as you can see, this x is now, like, if we are going to, let's discuss the global variable also, so that it will be more clear to you. X is equal to, let's take the variable y is equal to 20. Now we are going to define the function that is def show. Let's the function name del. Then print this is outside the function. What is outside the function y? Let's define this. We have defined this variable. So now we are going to call it. So if you are going to call this print y, then also it will not show any error. Even if we are going to use this del function, then also it is not going to show us any kind of error. So this type of variable is known as a global variable, which we are not going to declare inside the function. But once we are going to declare inside the function, which that particular variable can be called by using the function only. Otherwise, if we are going to call it independently, then it will show us an error that name x is not defined, because we have defined inside the function, not outside the function. But this one we have defined outside the function, and this variable can used as well as inside the function also, as well as the outside. As you can see that this print y we can call outside the function also, and this del, this function which can be called inside the function also. So students, now we are going to, now we will move to this some advanced topic, that is recursion function, which means a function which calls itself. A function which call itself. So now we are going to discuss, let's see how that function is going to call itself, a recursion function. So let's define the function, that is factorial, pass the argument as n. Now pass the condition first, that if n is equal to 1, then it will return 1, otherwise else return n asterisk factorial n minus 1. We have defined. Now let's try to check the factorial of 5. So as you can see, the factorial of 5 is 120. Now how we made it, like we are this is the function factorial, and this is the function we have again used here. So basically a function which is going to call itself again and again. So now we are going to discuss about the second one, that is lambda function. So lambda function, which is also known as anonymous function. Anonymous function. The difference between the anonymous function, this lambda function and anonymous function, which we say, is this. Now let's consider, like if I want to calculate the square, argument I want to pass here x, then print, or let's use that return x into x. Now let's call the function that is square and value 5, and now run this. It is taking time. So now let's run this. Square, pass the value 5 and then run. Name square is not defined. We have to run this again here. Then we are going to run this. So now as you can see, this is how we usually define the normal function. Normal function. And the difference between the lambda function is this. That in lambda function we are defining inside a single line only. We are not using this return keyword again and again. So like square you want to calculate, lambda, we are using wrong spelling here, that is, yes, lambda. Square lambda, x is a variable and we are calculating x, and x into x we want to calculate. Then just simply print square, and now let's calculate for 5. So it will return the value. So this is how we can use the lambda function inside in a single statement, but this is how we use to calculate the normal function. Now let's check for the multiple arguments. Now we have used here only x value. So lambda function with multiple arguments. Now let's add two function using lambda. A comma b, a addition b operator we are using here. Then print, next line we have to use print add. Inside add we are going to pass two values 4 comma 8. So now the addition will be 12. So this is how we can use lambda function whenever you want to use the function and you do not want to name it. That time only we are going to use this lambda function when we want to make it as anonymous function. So with single value, this is how we are going to work, and with the additional value, we can separate it by the comma only, and then the operation which we are going to assign by using the colon. So this is the example of lambda function using single argument and multiple arguments. Now let's discuss the example of lambda function. Right. Write a program of map function. So map also we are going to use with the lambda function. Let's take the variable numbers. In list we are going to store it, then result, then is equal to list mapping, then lambda for single value, single argument x multiply with 2 comma numbers. This is lambda. Then print result. In lambda there is one more important thing which if you have noticed, whenever we are going to define any function, after defining it we are going to call that function also. But in lambda, instead of defining only we are going to use at the same time. Like in this one, if you are going to discuss the use of the map function, so what we have done, we have mapped this list to a lambda function, and the operation which we have applied, that this complete list was treated as x, and this complete list was will multiply with 2. So as you can see this result, and in the same way we can write a program of filter function also. This one also we are going to use with lambda only. Again we will take the example of numbers list 1 2 3 4 5 6. So now we will find the even numbers only, so that list, then filter, then again now lambda, now x colon. We how we can check a number is even, because we will divide by 2, and if the remainder will be 0, then in numbers we want to check, then print even. So in this list only the even numbers are 2 4 and 6. So this is how we can use the lambda function with the single argument, with the multiple arguments, with the map function as well as the filter function. So that's all from my end. As far as I guess, we have discussed almost all types of methods which we are using in function. So first we have discussed about the introduction of function, the syntax of function. Then we have discussed two types of function. One is user defined, another one is built-in function. Then we have discussed some built-in functions. We have discussed the examples also. And after that we have discussed about the user defined function, that how we can create the manual function by a user. Then we have discussed four types of user defined function. First one is that is when no argument is there and no return value. Then arguments are there but no return value. Then we have discussed no argument but return value. And then we have discussed the fourth type, that is argument as well as a return value. Then we have discussed the types of argument, that is positional argument, keyword argument, default argument, as well as the variable length argument and keyword variable length argument. So variable length argument we usually denote with arg, and keyword variable length argument we usually denote with a double asterisk and quarks. So in the positional argument we have discussed that if the position will, if we are going to change the position, but in the output it will affect. But in keyword argument, if we are going to specify their position, so it after that it doesn't matter if even if you are going to change the position. Like in this one we have declared age first then name, so but still the output will be correct. Then we have discussed the default argument, and after that we have discussed the variable length argument and keyword variable length argument, which means when we do not know how many times an argument is going to pass inside the function. So in those cases we are going to use this args and coargs. So args we have written here, like we have passed the value as 1 2 3. Difference between variable and keyword, that is in variable it will give the output in tuple form, in keyword it will give the output in dictionary form. Because why it is giving in the dictionary form, because it will be treated as key, this name will be treated as key, and this python will be treated as value. Because in keyword arguments we are specifying with their variable names properly, so even if those sequence will change, the output will not affect. Then we have discussed the types of variable, that is local variable as well as the global variable. Local variable, which is the variable which is going to define inside the function, but that there is a limitation, that if we are going to try to call that variable outside the function, then it will throw an error. As you can see here, name x is not defined because we have defined this x inside the function. Then we have discussed about the global variable, which means a variable which is declared outside the function. The main benefit of this that we can call outside the function also, as well as we can call inside the function also. So now after that we have discussed the recursion function, a function which is going which calls itself. So we have discussed that how to calculate the factorial by using the recursion function. So here this recursion function, after returning it will call again and again. How it will call? Like if we are going to write 5, then every time 5 into 4, then 4 into 3, then 3 into 2, then 3, then 2 into 1. After, when it will stop when the condition will be n is equal to 1. And from where it will start with 5. So when again and again it will call, and when it will stop, because we have specified the condition. So a function which is going to call itself again and again, that function is known as a recursion function. After that we have discussed the difference between the lambda function and normal function. In normal function we are using this return and all, but in lambda function we are going to declare, we are going to use in the single statement only. In the single statement we are going to pass the arguments. First example we have discussed with this single argument. Second one we have discussed that the lambda function with multiple arguments. Then after that we have discussed how like the map function as well as the filter function. So I hope everyone has enjoyed this video of function. Thank you. Have a nice day. That's all from my side.